The National Party has a long and proud anti-worker tradition. The National Party has changed over the years, but a recurring feature is the anti-worker policy that National regularly pursues. The first National government orchestrated a brutal authoritarian crackdown on striking workers. During the 1951 waterfront dispute, they discarded the most basic rights. Freedom of speech, freedom of the press. These things were abandoned. Emergency regulations crushed these basic rights. It became illegal to publish material supporting the striking workers. Simply giving food to the families of striking workers was made illegal. Incredibly illiberal policy was introduced, all in the name of crushing striking workers. They claimed to value individual rights, yet they abandoned that supposed belief immediately to crush striking workers. In the 1990s, Jim Bolger introduced brutal anti-worker reforms. The Employment Contracts Act dealt a devastating blow to working people. Workers' rights were crushed. Trade unions were weakened massively by the brutal employment law reforms. Trade unions are a solution to the massive power imbalance between employers and employees. This power imbalance is easily abused. It often results in the mistreatment and exploitation of workers. Trade unions give workers leverage. National hates trade unions. The anti-worker agenda was continued by John Key, albeit in a less brutal form. John Key raised GST. GST is a flat tax by stealth. It places an unfair tax burden on working people. John Key also introduced the Hobbit Law, a law that was intended to reduce workers' rights and weaken trade unions. The current national government continues the anti-worker agenda. Upon being elected, one of their first actions was to abolish the trade union empowering legislation that was introduced by Labour. They have also slowed minimum wage increases. Inflation eats away at the minimum wage. They have presided over rising unemployment rates. They changed the mandate of the Reserve Bank so that unemployment would no longer be a consideration. And unemployment inevitably increased. Then they started blaming the unemployed and threatening to cut benefits. This government is disgraceful. They formed a coalition with ACT, a party that despises workers, a party that wants to freeze the minimum wage and cut leave entitlements for workers. ACT is a perfect coalition partner for the anti-worker National Party. The National Party, like the ACT Party, is funded by rich elites. Many National Party politicians were rich elites before entering politics. It should come as no surprise that they serve rich elites. That leads to a shameful anti-worker agenda. An out-of-touch, idiotic agenda. An agenda that screws over ordinary people time and time again to serve the interests of the wealthy. The purpose of the National Party is to serve the economic elite. It is despicable. This donor-serving anti-worker party must be kept out of government in 2026.